so happy that we are doing this call today because talking leadership, if I were to place bets, I would venture to guess that maybe today wasn't your easiest day being a leader. And I had some hiccups. I almost feel like we need to take a deep breath, we need to take a moment before we go into this because yeah, let's be honest, there were some hiccups today with the website, and there's been some of that lately, and it really makes you evaluate, especially like today, how do you show up as a leader? Because my guess is how you showed up today is how you show up every day to your teams. And for those of you, I know, guess what? You're going to have a team, and all of this stuff as you grow your business and grow your teams, you're going to take this in, you're going to deal with all of this stuff. So I think it's super important and smart to be on calls about leadership like this and have these groups. I think it's brilliant, Erica, that you put this together and you bring, leaders together, because a lot of this stuff, I mean, it is not for the weak, right? Like, you have all of these things that you're dealing with in your life, in your business as a rep, and then you add in, your leadership duties and that whole side of it. So that's kind of going to be what we're going to talk about tonight. If you do have the opportunity to pull up that outline or print any of those things out, great. I do it a lot just because I'm super visual and I get way sidetracked, and so it kind of keeps things on pace there. But this is a Zoom call, you guys, and if you have questions or you have feedback, please stop me, ask them. I love it when we can kind of all come together with these things and, have kind of a call where we're all bouncing ideas off one another. So I'm just going to mute a couple. If you guys can mute yourselves, that would be great. And then just unmute yourself if you have questions. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I think, again, going today, you probably had the opportunity to really take a step back and then dive in as a leader, because guaranteed at the same time that you're trying to place your orders for your customers and figure out everything that's going on, you've got your phone dinging and your message thread and your team chats, everything, and everyone's asking you, what is going on? What the website won't work, I can't get my order, what is this error? Like, all those things come, and they all come at you, right? And that's really at the point where, you either step up or you step back, like, okay, I'm not going to do this. So that's what we're going to talk about. I think truly that leadership, you guys, is a choice. We all have the option to kind of, I call it embracing that shift. It can be a really scary time sometimes, because you're right at this, when you embrace that and you're stepping into that, you kind of go through this, well, wait a minute, it's scary. Not only am I, maybe you've just been relying on your own sales up to a certain point, and then when you step over into that role of leadership, guess what? Maybe you're scaling back because you're putting different amounts of time into maybe your team and training and figuring all those roles out. And maybe you're not doing as many parties, and that can be a scary transition, because wait a minute, you're not maybe going to get the same commission that you had before because you're transitioning into that. So it really is a choice. Everyone has the opportunity. You can have your team sometimes can grow, and you can still step back and kind of, you can ride coattails of other people, but when you step up, you got muted. When you step up to the plate as a leader, there are some things that we have to manage, right? We have to give love to, we have to look at, we have to understand. So we're going to kind of touch on 5 of those today. We're going to talk about the different roles for you as a leader, how you manage them time-wise. That's my number one question. And I'll be honest, you guys, we are all doing this together. We're learning this together. It is a constant juggling act, right? With your life and your work and new roles within your work. So we're going to talk about that. And then lastly, just a little bit about ZYIA right now, where we are. Because it puts you as a leader in a little bit of a different situation. As a leader, you're in a spot where you can really create the culture for your organization. You know, the opportunity, and we'll get into this a little bit in just a little bit, but it is different now, and you're at the core of it. You're really creating, you know, the beliefs and the values that are going to reside within your organization, within your team, within your community. And it really, you have to ask yourself, how are you showing up? And again, this is the perfect timing, because how did you show up today? Because ultimately your behavior, that's what influences, that's what creates that culture. That's what's going to influence and shape your community and your team. And at the root of that, it always goes back to this. After everything we talk about, you know, mindset's at the core, your mindset. So sometimes we have to take a step and be like, okay, what's going on here? Where do I need to put more time into myself? So we're going to examine that a little bit. You know, where is your mind at? But there are 5 areas we're just going to touch on briefly. And I know you guys are probably totally exhausted after today. So we'll keep this fairly short and sweet, and just stop me if you, like I said, if you have questions. But I kind of went through these 5, what I consider to be the 5 most important areas in leadership within ZYIA. And number 1, mindset, what we just talked about. That's kind of at the root of it. But also, you know, your training, what kind of resources and education are you giving to your team? How are you recognizing them? That's a big part of this, right? Remember when I just dove into this, I had no idea about any of this, you guys. Like, we're learning as we go. But that's a big, really kind of important piece of it. It doesn't always have to be monetary. Like, sometimes just a shout out and recognizing what people are doing is so effective and so valuable in our line of work. And then accountability and goals. You know, how are you setting your team up to hold people accountable for the goals that they're putting in place? And then lastly, and so important, is the leadership building. How are you building new leaders just like yourself? How are you building those and growing your organization bigger, stronger? And that can be a whole different challenge, because as leaders, we like to step up. We like to you know, help everybody and train everybody. And sometimes that's a whole different process of stepping back a little bit and really empowering your leaders to take everything you've given them and wherever they've gotten elsewhere, but letting them free to build their organization. So there's all these little pieces. But I do think, along with mindset, a lot of this, and especially this is going to tie in with time management in a bit here, but you have the opportunity to role model how you want your team to go, how you want them to show up, how you think is most effective to run this business. They're going to learn from you, and they're going to learn from you doing it, not just saying it. We can all sit here and be like, you got to do this many parties and you need to do this and this. No, show them and include them with that. That's not only going to keep your business going, but it's going to really set an example for, you know, what works. You know, I'm the first one to say, I'm not ever going to micromanage. I'm never going to tell you, this is what you need to do with your ZYIA business. No, I won't do it. But I will say, hey, guess what? This is what's worked for me, and I'd love to share it. You know, take what you want. That's why we sign up. That's why we do this business, so that we can build our own businesses the way we want to. So really, as a leader, you know, that role modeling of not just your attitude, but how you're running your business, and including your team in that, is so crucial. And that kind of goes into the next part, you know, the training and resources and education. Of course, we can organize Zoom calls, and we can send out different resources and materials and guides and all this stuff. But again, I think more than anything, we can role model what we want our team to be doing. The minute we step back and we're like, oh, I built a team, let's see what they do. I'm like, no, your team will, that's terrible. You don't ever want to do that. You're there, you're with them, you're modeling it, you're doing it, you're alongside with them. And that's going to build a really, really strong organization. But you do want to, you do have to be organized, and you do want to streamline things as you grow. I always ask myself, and it was the best thing I could have done in the beginning, is I didn't have any idea the extent, and I still don't know, just how big things would get and how big teams would get. And you really have to ask yourself, like, can I scale this? Whatever you are doing right now, you got to be able to be like, can I scale this? Like times it by like 10,000, 20,000. Can you scale this, what you're doing? And you want to set things up now kind of in motion. So as things grow, you don't get buried. You still have a strong kind of, workflow with things. How do you recognize people? How do you set goals? How do you train? All of this has got to be able to be scaled as your team grows, because it will grow. You guys were in the beginning. You're in the beginning phases of everything. And how you set it up right now is ultimately going to be like, set it in motion for smooth sailing, or just like you're going to be, this is too overwhelming, I can't do it. And then you have to restructure everything. And not saying I haven't had to do that. Oh my goodness, of course. But I'm just saying, take a look at it and ask yourself always, if this times 10,000, can I do it? What are we going to do right now to kind of keep that consistency? So when my team blows up and gets huge, we can still keep going and be super effective. And that goes the same with recognition, you guys. Organize it, be systematic about it. I like to do my recognition typically, not always, I shoot for on Mondays. And it's a little different now, as we can't give numbers for sales and such, but we can totally shout people out, put those names out there, recognize people, do, rep spotlights. But I just do like an order, top PV, top recruiters, things like that. But be systematic about it, because it will keep your life more organized and structured as this grows, and that's so important. And again, that goes with accountability, goals, all these things that are super important. How are you tracking, people's rank advancements? We all know that right now, our system with our website, we have to go to a million things in the back office, right? We have to look at, lifetime volume and their first life volume and all these things. And it can be a little overwhelming. So, having people, setting your reps up to be accountable for checking those numbers or sending reports or whatever you do is important again, and just how you are systematic about that, how you're helpful with that. And I hope that changes, you guys. I'm really hoping we can get something in the back office that's just a little bit streamlined there, because that takes a lot of time, as you know. And then lastly, we touched on this earlier, but the building of new leaders and, constantly equipping whether it's your first line or your whole team, but equipping people to take resources and your guidance and take that and build their own teams, build their organization. And it might be totally different than yours. They might say, you know what? I'm doing this my way. I don't want you involved. And you have to be okay with that too. You're going to have that. You're going to have people that are like, yeah, I really don't want you to hold my hand and I don't want you involved. That's okay. Again, that's why we do this business. So people can do it the way they want. And you have to be okay with that. That's a good thing. Ultimately, that's what we want. If we could have every single one of our reps build a strong team and, just build an amazing culture and do their thing, that's what you want. So there's all these pieces, right? So I just went over, I just blasted through like 5 different things that you're probably like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. What was that even? So that's the thing, right? We have these pieces. That's just the leadership portion, right? So I'll really overwhelm you when you start to think like all your rep things, right? As reps, we have to make sure we're booking parties. We have to make sure our sales are up. We have to make sure we're marketing to our customers. We have to be, doing our events, all these things. So we have those, right? And now we're bringing on a new structure of our leadership. And we're like, well, I got to make sure that we're, training and doing these goals, all these things, right? So here's what we're going to do. Because of all that, and it's so overwhelming, there are some wheels, you guys, and I don't even know, maybe you guys have talked about these already in this training group. If you have, great. We go back to these, and I hope that Ellie and Sarah will watch this training too, because we always laugh because it always goes back to the wheels. We're like, okay, back to the wheels we go. Is it something that you should be doing every single week? And if you've seen them before, great, I'll speed through this. And if you haven't printed these out, you can print them out later or just do it on a piece of paper. There's a rep wheel, which I won't go over, but the 5 things where you need to be giving a little love and attention to. The idea is doing a reality check. because sometimes we think, oh, we're killing it. We are just making recognition and all this stuff. And then we realize that we've totally left off. We may be killing it in one area, and then the other one's like, oh my gosh, I totally haven't been giving attention to this. So what you guys hopefully can do later or now, whatever, but go through and just rate yourself. It's literally like a snapshot of where you are with everything. So you could sit here, maybe my mindset is amazing today, and it's there this week, it's through the roof, or this month, however much you want to do it. But I have totally failed at training my team whatsoever. I've done no training. I've equipped them with nothing. I'm like a 1. But I have been recognizing them like every day. We're through the roof. We are like a 9 on there. Setting goals, kind of the middle of the road, and building leaders. Let's say I have dropped the ball and I have not been building up any of my leaders. So we'll do like a 2 there. The idea, we call this the wheel because the idea of that ultimately we want this nice, well-rounded wheel, right? We want everything like we've given love here and here and here, and our business is just perfect and we're all just perfect. But that's not reality, just not reality. But if you go through here, and let's say this is my wheel, and you connect these dots, mine would be not such a great wheel, right? Like we wouldn't be rolling very, very easily. So the idea of this is it gives you a snapshot. So let's say we do this every week, and I look on here and I'm like, okay, well, my mindset was fantastic, but I'm not building my new leaders. I'm not empowering my leaders this week. So guess what, you guys, the cool thing about this, next week when you're doing your planning, whatever, you get to block in a little bit more time for building your leaders, or a little bit more time for training your team. So it kind of gives you a really nice overview of where your priorities need to be each week, where your time needs to go. And again, like I said, there's one for your rep wheel. You could do this. There's also, I didn't include it on here, but you can do a life wheel, okay? This is just our business. So you can imagine that's a real wake-up call. Let me tell you, the life one is such a wake-up call. So what do you do with all this? You're like, okay, well, that's fantastic, Chrissy, but that's zero help to me. How do we apply this? Once you have this, and this was, Ellie and I actually went to a training a couple of years ago, and we listened to Sarah Blakely speak. And she had talked about this whole bucket. She called it the bucket method. And it was all about taking blocks of time, like literally imagining your days. And there's a graphic on here because I'm very visual. You can look on the outline. I need little buckets and put words in there. But it's imagine your day as a bucket. And you're choosing you're not accomplishing. Can you imagine if all these things, all we're doing, just grabbing bits and pieces. Okay, I got to recruit today. I got to train my team today. I need to make my sales today. Oh my gosh, and I need to work on my mindset. And I need to be grabbing, right? And you're all over the place. It's like a freaking train wreck. And trust me, I know this because I do this. I'm talking about this, but it happens. I veer from this, and then I'm back to my old ways of grabbing. And what happens at the end of the day is you kind of close out and you're like, well, I got a whole lot. I got nothing done. I worked so hard. I'm so exhausted, and I really feel like I accomplished nothing. My checklist is solid, and I don't even know what I've done. Oh, and not to mention between there, you're like answering messages, and you're just all over the place. That's honestly, it happens so easily. I know all about it. I do it frequently. My point is, if you can get rid of that and choose, like, block your days, right? So say you've done these wheels and you have kind of chosen where you need to, you've seen your priorities now, you know where you need to put your time. It's very easy to then choose a day. So let's say Wednesdays, that's on my rep wheel, sales, right? Sales is easy on Wednesday. That's a clear, like, we have launch day. So Wednesdays, all gonna be about my sales. That's all I'm doing. And maybe on my leadership wheels, well, sales, and I'm gonna do some accountability. I'm gonna check in on people with their goals. So all of a sudden, my Wednesday has two things, and this is just work related. Obviously, you're gonna have your life stuff. Put that in there too. But for my ZYIA stuff, I can handle that. I can do just sales and team goals on Wednesday. And all of a sudden, I'm not feeling like I'm drowning in everything, every component, every aspect of this business. Monday's when I connect with my team. I like to send a newsletter out to my first lane girls. So I'm gonna put, that's my team communication or whatever I wanna put. Monday's focused on my team. And then maybe with my, looking at rep, maybe that's when I focus on booking events. So Monday is all going to be about communicating with my team, and I'm going to book events. That's all I'm going to do. So what happens is we're able to accomplish these things, and we're able to do them thoroughly and do them well. We're now able to check the list off for the day. And at the end of the week, guess what? We did check things off, and we're not a scattered mess, and we did them well. And then we do the wheel again. Check yourself again. Okay, where do we need to double up? Or let's say I did not get to booking parties. Something happened Monday, and I was running an online party, and everything happened. Guess what? The method is a bucket theory, right? So pour that into the next day or move it down somewhere. And this will move all the time. This is life, right? You're going to set these out, and they might not happen, and that's going to be okay. But shift things around. Do you guys have questions on that? I totally am like talking a million miles a minute. Do you guys have questions on that concept of blocking your time and putting things into days? Anybody? No?
How many would you say that you try to do in one day? Like you mentioned in your example 2.
Yeah, I would say just speaking ZYIA, I think like 2 to 3. It depends like on the week itself. But if I'm just looking like, for example, just the rep stuff on here, I usually just choose one of these things. And then the leadership wheel, just one of those things. And then whatever else is going on in your business that you haven't necessarily planned out, but maybe your messages are completely behind, put that in there that day. Or you're running an online party, put that in there that day. So I would say choose like one from each wheel, and then one of your own, and then your life stuff, of course. Any other questions on that, guys? Does that make sense though?
Do you like to set aside time to go and check messages or post in your groups and your parties, or do you just kind of do it randomly throughout the day?
I do. I like to set it aside. And again, you guys, I'm telling you this because everything I try to do now, it's because I've done it the wrong way. So many times, and I try really hard not to do this, but I am totally guilty of throughout the day, like, okay, I'm just gonna message that. Oh, I'm gonna get my gun. Okay, and then you're back to your scatteredness. And I have 2 little girls, so there's that. The mom guilt of like I'm not being present. And what I find is, number 1, if you block time in your day to just respond to messages and emails and texts and Facebook messages and Instagram messages and all the different ways people can contact you, I find it is so much more effective. It's better for my brain. It's better for me as a parent. It's better for my work. And little tip for you leaders, if you're getting inundated with questions, sometimes I find when I block my time out and I do like an hour, okay, I'm doing it from 3 to 4 today, and let's say it's 1 o'clock or whatever, and it's really hard sometimes to not pick up and answer them. It's terrible. I want to answer everybody. But a lot of times when I block it out and I go to respond, probably a third of the messages are like, I figured it out. I figured it out. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to bother you. Figured it out. I'm like, okay, let me know if you need any more help. And that may sound terrible, but it is the truth. If you kind of, and I'm not meaning to do that, but it's the reality of if you set aside that time and it's not immediate, a lot of times things do figure themselves out a little bit more. But I'm not saying to not respond to your messages, because of course, I feel like that's what I do. That's my main job, is to respond to messages. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, I would say blocking time just to answer questions is a really smart thing to do. Much easier. But
do you block time every day, or do you do that once
for me, every day is the goal.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and I would need to do like lots of blocks of time, but still, just even if it's just not all the time, would be progress.
Sure. Well, I feel like I'm always on my phone and always on my computer, and I have 5 kids, so it's a little crazy. And
yeah, so you know all about.
I need to narrow that down for sure. Yeah. I'm all over the place right now.
And then you're able to tell them, hey, this is my time, you know, or if they're in bed or whatever it is. But so you have backup too, like, hey, this is my time. I am just doing this right now. I'm just booking parties. I'm just doing my, you know, answering messages, and it will make your life. It is a game changer. Like this whole method, and it seems pretty straightforward. I'm like, why did I think of this? Like, why would I do this? But it's a game changer. It changed my business. It changed my life when I started doing this. And all of a sudden I was like, I could kind of breathe a little bit. I'm like, okay, I'm not drowning. I am in control of my life, and I can do this because I only have 2 things on my list today and I can do them. But then even within your day, and this one's, I think I put this on here too. And you can get these anywhere. You can print them out, or if you have a calendar, or write them down. But for you like ultra planners that do want to block time out for these things that you put in your buckets, you can even break it down like on a little daily schedule of, okay, from 12 to 12:30 to 1:30 today, I'm just doing this. And it might mean turn off your phone. It might mean like, I'm not answering messages right now because I'm just doing this. I'm fulfilling this thing on my wheel and I'm not looking at my messages. And that's okay too. It's pretty easy. We can become like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's kind of like you're just constantly, you're constantly tapped into it, and there's no off. And this business can be tricky in that sense because we're all in, and you know, we're passionate about this, and we want to get back to people right away. Our customers, our team, we want to fix problems right away. We want to do all the things that we want to do on all these buckets all the time. And we want to do them quickly. And so it's a challenge to turn that off and to take control of it and to be like, this is what I'm doing right now. And if you can do that, it really will. It will free up. It'll free you up so much. Any other questions on that, you guys? No? But yeah, just play around with it. You know, and you can get all this stuff in place and go for it, and it all can just kind of slip sometimes. And that's life. That's this business. And guess what? You got a whole new day tomorrow to try again, or a whole new week. And it kind of goes back to that mindset. There's so many ups and downs, and there's days that you're going to kill it, and you're going to be like, I'm the best rep ever. I'm the best leader ever. And then the next day you're like, I am a failure. What did I do? I'm terrible. And then you come back. But the key is that how you show up, even if you're feeling like that your team doesn't ever feel like that. That you're really putting out the energy that you hope to see in your organization, that you live that you show that. I think a good way to think of it, like on days let's say we sell out, right? Sold out of the metallics and just a wreck. Everyone's yelling at you and you're getting hate mail and everyone's crying, and you know, it's just a really fun day in ZYIA. Are you the rep that comes on, you're like, we sold out of everything. Oh, this is the worst. Or are you like the leader that comes on, you're like, we freaking sold out of everything. Like, what is happening? This is so incredible. Like, there's different ways. And that's what's going to trickle down. That is what is going to radiate from you through your team to your customers. That's why people want to join you in the first place. That's why they want in with ZYIA, is they see what you're doing. And they're like, she's literally like radiating happiness and positivity no matter what happens. Like, if you do that, oh my gosh, your team feels that. And that is what creates a successful and strong team, you guys, more than anything. Okay, a couple more things. Any other questions? I don't want to slip off down a tangent, rabbit hole. But just, I want to end quickly. I know we covered like a lot of stuff. I wasn't meaning to just like go so long on all of that, but I do think it's important. I do think it can be a game changer and change your business. And just, you know, your mindset with ZYIA as a whole is super important to share with your teams constantly too. You know, just before, probably 10 minutes before I got on this call, you know, I posted on our team page. I'm like, how's everybody doing? Are we still alive? Are we in one piece? And kind of went through and made some announcements and was like, listen, keep the big picture in mind. You know, today was hard. You don't ever want to like not acknowledge people and how they're feeling. Of course, like that's super important. You know, I hear you. It was hard today. It was tough. But these are hiccups. You know, they're bumps. They may seem really big right now, but guess what? These are little bumps in the road when you look at the big picture. And I find that helps when we kind of go down these, and we all know what I'm talking about. When the team starts to spiral and there's tears and everything else, it's like, okay, let's bring it back to the big picture. You know, we always say that we're so much more than leggings. We are. And I think it's important that even in these times, because it is kind of crazy times right now, you guys, there's lots of serious and like scary stuff going on. And I truly believe ZYIA continues to be a light. It's a light in so many of our lives, the people around us. And I think that's a really special thing. It's a really important thing to hold on to. But also like this is your business. You chose to be here tonight. You don't have to be here. You don't have to show up. But this is your business. This is your dream. It's your choice, how you run your organization, how you run your business. And, you know, I love the fact that so many, I mean, I'm imagining that there are people on this call from all across, you know, the country, maybe even from Canada. And it's pretty cool that, you know, regardless of where we are in this business and, you know, wherever our lives are, but the pillars, what is at the core of this company, that's what connects us all. Because ultimately this company is different. I know you guys know that this company is different, and we're better. I think the things that set us apart, obviously, besides our amazing products, you guys, but it is our culture, and it's our beliefs and the pillars, and you know what this company represents. The Bradleys at the core of this. I always say, bring on the competition, because you can't replicate the Bradleys. You can't duplicate that. And of course, the timing, you know, and that plays back into, yes, we have bumps. There are things that happen that are hard right now, but the timing of this company in direct sales terms, you guys, like we are a baby company. We are little. We're not even on the map yet. And when you can see it like that, it's pretty eye-opening of the opportunity is much different right now. It is. It is. It's different for your leadership. It's different for people that are joining you and choosing to build their business right now. And it's different for obstacles too. You know, we are going to have, maybe our website doesn't work for a little bit. Maybe we sell out in a couple hours. Like that's going to happen, but it's also sets the opportunity far apart from other companies. The Bradleys, yes. Love the Bradleys. I'm like, bring on the competition. No one can replicate the Bradleys. What do you wish you did differently? Well, everything, like I said, that I have learned, I've usually done it the hard way or the incorrect way, and have learned that way. I guess my parents used to always say I did that too. Like, you got to learn the hard way, right? And I guess this business, in a sense, has been like that. I never did direct sales before. I never even done sales. But from the beginning, I have always led my business and my team with my heart and my passion for this business. And even at times, like there are times that I'm like, I don't know what to do right now. Even in the beginning, my launch period, I'm like, I don't know about these products. I know someone was like, remember my very first launch party, and they're like, are these leggings have good compression? I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what are you talking about? I was calling customer service, like, you know, like you don't know. But if you lead with your heart and you are transparent and you do things like that, you're not going to have the bigger issues. Don't really exist. Of course, there's going to be ups and downs, but I think I truly believe that going into it thinking that you need to know everything, that's a no-no. I think going into it knowing that we're all building this together and we're always learning. I mean, literally, I'm always learning and I'm always taking things from other people, and acknowledging that you never, ever want to just sit back. This is the time to work harder than you've ever worked, and put in that time, and, you know, lock arms with your team and do it with them. And I think those are the things that are most important at this point. But yeah, I think I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think just having that fear in the beginning, I had a lot of fear. I think the beginning part of my career was where I would have done the most differently. I remember, and you probably heard me say this, but I was like, I'm never doing a live video. I'm never doing a live video. And I probably won't ever post a selfie. That came out of my mouth. I was like, nope, not doing it. And then I quickly was like, okay, what's wrong with me? Like, this is life. Who cares? Like, why not? And you do the scary things. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, do the things that scare you, and you quickly find out, like, okay, I am still alive. I feel like a stronger person. My business is stronger. Like, that was totally scary and wonderful all at once. And if you can do those, like, you'll just find not just your business grows, but you personally grow. And it's a life changer. It really is. Like, when we don't want to do things like videos or pictures of ourselves, like, it's that fear of judgment. At least for me, it was. I always was like, well, I don't want people to look, people in my life, they're like, what is she doing? She looks ridiculous. Why is she doing that? Like, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to look stupid. Nobody wants to be judged. No, nobody wants that. But if you can get over that fear of, like, well, okay, what if they do say that? Who cares? Like, this is your life. And if you can step up and do those scary things, man, it's a game changer. It literally, it will change everything. So I guess that would be, sorry, it was a really roundabout question, but that would be, the biggest thing I do differently is, like, that mindset. I was even like, well, I'm going to do a party. I don't know if I want to party. I was like, well, why wouldn't I do a party? Of course I'll do parties. I'm going to do parties every week after you do them. And you're like, wow, that was super effective. So that's what I would do. Just dive in. Don't let that fear hold you back. Any other questions, you guys? All right, well, I have talked a whole bunch. If you guys have questions, let me know. But really, I encourage you, go after it. Now's the time. Dream big, do those scary things, be proud of this company and what it represents. I am so, so, so proud every single day to put my name on this brand, to put my name alongside this company, because of what we stand for, what we represent, this community, this like, the ZYIA family. I don't even know what team you guys are on. We all love this. It's like, I love that we can come on and just come together as this whole ZYIA family and do this. It's incredible. And it is pretty darn empowering. So go after it now, put in the work now, do the scary things. And I promise you, it'll come back in a really, really big way. All right.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Sure, no one has any questions. This is the time to get her.
Anybody, throw them on out.
I kind of have a question. Because your team has grown so quickly and so fast, and I know you lead a team together, with a couple leaders, but like calls, because everybody's at home, everybody's on Zoom. I feel like I have this call and this call and this call, and I'm called out. So, I know in your wheel, like, how many trainings do you do for your direct ones? Like, do you separate that? Do you have one big call? How does that work?
So I do, and kind of going back with what we talked about before about empowering your leaders, and this has changed. This hasn't always been like that, but where the team is now and the amount of people, I put my priorities with my first line. And I like to give them resources that they can then take to their teams. So what I typically do is the beginning of each month, we do a training, like a first line training. And then they have the option of inviting their teams and their downlines or whoever they feel would benefit, or they can just pop on and take that and then they can train with it. So I typically right now will do for just my first line, just the one. And then of course I'm very present like on Facebook and our team page and doing little challenges. I like to do tasks and challenges each week and things like that. But again, for my first line. And I like to, I go back and forth with this because I think it would be really beneficial to open up to the whole team, but I also place a lot of value on equipping my leaders with what they need to build their teams and let them be leaders too. So it's kind of that fine line. But I tend to do just the one. We do a new rep call to put everybody in one, because that's another thing as your team grows. If you have to be able to streamline things, and I find that new reps often have similar questions. So it's like a learning thing. So I like to put everybody on a call at once, and then we go over everything together and open it up for a Q&A. That helps a lot too.
So like one new rep training a month.
Mm-hmm. As needed. I'd like to do them the beginning of each month, but if we have a ton of enrollments, we'll do another one as well. So it kind of, that's like the scheduled stuff. And then in between, we do stuff like this, hop on different teams, and those are weekly. I do try to schedule things around the same times and days. So if you have on your bucket that trainings are on Thursday, then when someone approaches you and says, hey, can you hop on and do training for my team? Then you're like, how does Thursday at 6 work? Like try to keep it consistent. I did that though, you guys, and I was doing everything at 10, everything was 10 o'clock. It was right when like quarantine had started. And then I know. Okay. So I was doing everything at 10. And then I had an in-person meeting. My husband and I did. So I had been on everything is 10. All my meetings are at 10. I can't screw that up. Right. So we drive down, it's like an hour away. We get there. I'm right on time at 10, right? Like I'm there. And the guy's like, oh, hi, you're early. And my husband's like, 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah, we're here. So we sit down, we have the whole meeting. And it wasn't until like, I think it was 12:10. And I wrote my friend and I said, we're all done. I'm coming back. She was watching our kids. She's like, that was fast. It was really fast. And I was like, no, it wasn't. Like we went and had lunch afterwards. And she's like, your meeting was at noon. Like you showed up 2 hours early. This guy never said anything to me. He was just like, okay, sit on down. He was so nice about it. And I had to apologize. I'm like, who shows up 2 hours early? Like how obnoxious is that? But it was because I was so set. I'm like, well, no, I only have meetings at 10. So that's when I headed out the door at 9 o'clock. Didn't even think twice about it. So just make sure whenever you set up, you're aware of it. But
well, next time I come ask you talk, I'm going to ask you to come on at 10 Central Time.
Yes, has to be 10. Because otherwise, I'll be there 10 o'clock. Let's see. Are there other questions?
I have a question. Can I ask something?
Yes.
Okay. So this is really, really random, but something that you said just kind of made me think about it. So you had talked about like, we're in the ground level and, sky's the limit for where everything can go. Something that I've come into contact with a couple times in the last week is specifically, well, one was a party, and I asked but I have 3 reps, I'm not super comfortable. And then the other one was someone who wanted to be a rep in like a suburb, like 40 minutes from me. And she's like, I totally missed the ball. 2 of my neighbors are reps now. And so like, I guess my question is like, what do you do with that? Because I would tend to feel the same way. Like, oh, everyone else is doing it. I'm not going, I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, totally. And I hear that too sometimes. Be like, actually, I should have done it. Now a couple of my girlfriends are doing it. And all this. Number one, especially when you're talking about the business opportunity side of it. And if you have girls that are like, oh, there's 2 people in our town. Like I can't. I'm like, okay, first of all, if you're just focusing on your friends and you're feeling your town, your business isn't going to get very, it might grow, but it's not going to get really big. Like that's at least not the method that I even recommend to do. Like I think when that comes up, it's like, okay, think much bigger than that. Like 2 people in your town, that doesn't matter. You may think it does, but open their eyes to, listen, we're everywhere. First of all, we have free platforms, social media. It's free. You can connect with anyone in the U.S., all across the country, different countries, whatever. And when you can open people's eyes to that, and let them know, hey, you don't want to just, that's great. Like if you have local customers, that's fantastic. That's fabulous. You don't ever want someone to not have local customers. But what I'm saying is don't focus on that. If that is your focus, your business can grow, but there's an end to it. There really is. Like there's walls. And I've always been really big on, you know, at least the way I built my business, I didn't even market to my friends and family at the beginning. I, from the get-go, was reaching out to people through social media, through people I didn't know, was hosting parties for people I didn't know. And what happens is your business grows so much bigger and so much faster because you're outside of your circle. And every single time that you connect with somebody outside of your circle, then you're all of a sudden in their circle. And then you just met and then they want to rep and they're hosting a party and now you're in their circle. And then you're in their circle. So that would be my answer to that. Make sure you open their eyes to the fact that the way we do this business, it's not set up, especially now when people aren't even doing like in-person parties very much. Focus on the opportunity outside of where you live. And, you know, if you get 10, 20, hundreds of reps, it doesn't matter unless you're only going to focus on your friends and family and your hometown. Then
Got it.
A little bit.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions, you guys? I live in a weird master plan community. There are 50 reps in my subdivision. And that's going to happen, you know, and it's going to happen more and more as this grows. I mean, that's, I would say, oh, and to answer your first question, you know, when people are like, oh, you know, I'm friends with them and, you know, I wish I'd done it. It really is important to embrace that, celebrate that. If you're like, oh, gosh, I wish that's terrible news. There's reps. No, like celebrate that. We are growing this brand. You guys, I scare people. I was on my bike the other day. We were on a family bike ride. And to this day, it gives me chills. Like I was riding along and I'm like, oh, those are ZYIA leggings. I was on a trail and I was like far away from my home and I was riding in the woods and I scared this poor lady and I was like, are those ZYIA? And she was like, they are. She was like, my girlfriend lives in Las Vegas. She's a rep. And, you know, it's so exciting. Like if you celebrate those and get people like really excited about the fact, like, you know, there's 10 other people in this town. How crazy is that? This company is blowing up. Like that's, you know, embrace like this whole ZYIA family idea, embrace the whole growth of this company idea, all of that. And when people see you acting like that, maybe a ridiculous, scary bike rider yelling at people, but guess what? Once again, that's what's going to resonate with people. That person that just got caught up in the fact that, okay, there are too many reps. It's saturated. There are 10 reps in my town. It is saturated. Oh my gosh. First of all, do some comparisons. You can pull up the bigger companies too. Like look at Rodan and Fields or doTERRA, whatever. You can, of course, bring those comparisons up. Those are always super eye-opening. But also just the fact that, hey, that just made you so happy to hear that there are other reps in your town or other, you know, reps that they're friends with. Like, be excited about that. And they're going to probably respond a lot differently to you. Anybody else? Yes, abundance mindset. Yes.
I think that's like Econ 101, right? When there's only one bread store, then somebody opens another bread store and there's competition. I thrive in those.
Yeah.
Well, I know this is our last group call, and we hit the big shebang with Chrissy coming on, but I know we're posting. We have another guest speaker from our group that's going live in our group tomorrow. And then next week we have our Discover ZYIA, so our Experience ZYIA. So I'll have that graphic with a call. So this is your challenge to prospect and reach out and put prospecting and reach outs on your wheel, your new wheel, your fresh and shiny wheel, and invite people to the call. And does anyone have any questions about that? But you can still use your pods for info and inspiration and tell each other this is great. You know, the bad things or the mishaps are happening. Something great is about to blossom. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. if us, the leadership girls, like if we could do anything to pay you back, we will.
Oh my gosh. No, not needed. Everyone, we're doing this together. So it's pretty cool. I feel honored that you invited me here. It's so nice to see your faces, you guys. And like I said, feel free to reach out anytime. I love to hear ideas, feedback, and let's just grow this as big as we can. And it's exciting times right now.
Sweet. Thank you guys. You guys have a great night.
Bye.